there's mixed emotions in Kyiv today. So they're very, very patriotic here. They are very celebratory of their independence, as they should be, and their sovereignty. But at the same time, we've had big threats from Russia. There's propaganda stating that they're going to launch a big attack today all over Ukraine. And the problem is, it's easy to dismiss those rumours and the intelligence, but you just cannot tell what Russia's going to do next. And that has been the problem throughout. We've had this could have all been prevented a very, very long time ago if we just stood up to Russia, if Britain and the rest of the West had stood up to Russia. So, people are out celebrating still. The celebrations in public have been cancelled due to safety reasons, but people are still wearing the flags. People are still flying the flags and wearing the colours. They're very patriotic here, and they're very determined. They're a very, very resilient people.
And as you say, no big official marches or parades or celebrations because of the risk that Russia might send missiles into crowds of civilians, as we've seen, unfortunately, far too often in this conflict. What sort of celebration are we seeing, and what's the tension there? Even though Kyiv is back up and running and people are moving back, we did, of course, see the American embassy just this week advise that Americans leave once more.
Yeah, well, the intelligence is quite strong. As we've seen and as you've acknowledged, civilians are targeted in this war. Russia can say otherwise. It's a complete lie. I've been to the front lines. I've been to Kharkiv, Bakhmut, Lysychansk. I've physically woken up one day to watch a house being blown up and a mother sifting through rubble, picking up keepsakes from her 7-year-old son who had been killed. There wasn't a military target in sight. Russia is not just trying to steal Ukrainian land, it is trying to run and is successfully running a campaign of psychological warfare. So we are seeing strikes on schools, on hospitals, transport all over. So the threat is very real. And so when you say, what's it like today, tense-wise, it's like it every day, if I'm completely honest. Kyiv is relatively safe. We have had some strikes since I've been here. But for the average Ukrainian, they just want to get on with their lives. They have a beautiful country, very advanced country, a very unique and individual culture that is completely separate from Russia. So they're going about their days. For instance, in our office today, we have a skeleton staff because we've given everyone the option to go home if they need to and feel a bit safe, because you just cannot tell. And that's the sad reality of children waking up to air raid sirens every day and not knowing what's going to happen next.
Really harrowing. And of course, on the political side of this, we know how popular Boris Johnson has been in Ukraine. There have been so many stories of streets being renamed after him, upon the resignation of Boris Johnson. I think it was the National Railways of Ukraine changed briefly their logo on social media to add a mop of blonde hair. Today, Rishi Sunak has written in your newspaper, in the Kyiv Post, to say that he would almost carry on that legacy. Is there much recognition of what has gone on in British politics in Ukraine? And is there a certain sense of nervousness that British resolve might be lesser?
You only have to walk down the street, and particularly when they hear my British accent, they will normally say, Boris Johnson, thumbs up. Everyone has massive respect for Boris Johnson here. He was one of the first leaders to get stuck in, to offer his support to Ukraine. Britain has supplied a large amount of weapons and continues to do so. But that said, they cannot fathom here why the British media are slowly starting to decline in their coverage, with exception of GBNews, and I applaud you for doing that. And they're concerned that the new leader who takes over might not show as much support as Boris Johnson. And that would be a massive, massive shame, because we forget that this isn't just Ukraine's war. This is a war on our doorstep, on Britain's doorstep. It's a war in Europe, and it's by one of the most evil regimes that we've seen. And they aren't just threatening Ukraine. They won't just stop at Ukraine. So we should have nipped this in the bud a long time ago. Many years ago, we had the Salisbury poisonings. We had numerous incidents where Russia has shown its aggression against even Britain. And then we've had people like Theresa May who made a phone call, don't do it again, that sort of nonsense. We have not been strong as a nation in standing up to Russian aggression. And in lieu of that, they have grown bolder and stronger and created their own alliances. And it is a massive threat that we're just not acknowledging. The British press, with the exception of GBNews, is saying, journalists tell me in England that they have Ukraine fatigue, that they're bored of writing about Ukraine. Well, they weren't bored about writing about Boris Johnson eating birthday cake for every single day for about a year. It's been absolutely ridiculous, and Ukrainians cannot understand why a British Prime Minister who was as efficient as Boris Johnson was has been pushed out over such a nonsense scandal, and they haven't taken into account the implications it has for the rest of Europe.